Hi, my name is Catherine Hackey, and I will be sharing my curriculum plan on multimedium storytelling. This is intended for a sixth grade class at Banneker Elementary in Kansas City, Missouri. This would cover 10 45-minute classes, and I do think that this could be used from the ages between fifth grade to eighth grade, depending on how you wanted to teach them. So the theme of my lesson is using texture, color, and objects as a method to tell a story. I want students to be able to analyze and decipher how artists use color and texture and objects to portray an emotion, event, feeling, etc., and therefore teach students how to use those same tools for themselves. I divided my 4 lessons into 4 different questions that build off of one another, analyzing the idea of what makes up a multimedium artwork. For example, lesson 1 begins by asking 1, how do textures and color make us think about objects? In this lesson, students dissect objects in color to understand what meanings could be possibly conveyed or received. In lesson 1, students will be introduced to contemporary artists Nick Cave, Ju-Young Cho, and David Bayes. They will be using the Understanding Map Circle handout on the left and the Think Me, See We handout on the right to think about the artist's work. Then we will go over the object investigation. The students will pick 3 objects and complete the shape, color, texture, feeling, and emotion that each object conveys. In lesson 2, we will pick an object from their object investigation handout, and then they will use it to complete the opposite model activity brainstorm. This activity will help them dissect the specific object into personality traits, color, shape, texture, etc. And then we'll have the students question what would be the opposite of that object. This activity will help them in creating an opposite model of their chosen object and is intended to help the students experiment with a variety of materials before their final project and to practice purposefulness with the use of that material. In lesson 3, students will complete their final project where they will create an artwork with a story of their own. Students will complete the brainstorming handout, which leads them to think about various descriptive vocabulary words, what kinds of stories they want to tell, what materials they want to use to tell their story and why, and lastly, to complete sketches of their possible project. Each workday, students will take a progress photo of their work and follow along with the daily project workday checklist to make sure that they are continuously progressing and persisting through their project. Lastly, in lesson 4, students will critique their own work and their peers' work. Students will complete the final project reflection worksheet on the left. Moreover, students participate in a post-it note critique where students will be divided into groups of 3 or 4, and they will be given 4 post-it notes to place next to a classmate's work. Each post-it note represents a category: successful use of color, successful use of objects and textures, success in detail or in construction, success in narrative and story, conceptual part of work. I find that this process is a great way to get students involved and to stay on topic in critique. Lastly, students will fill out a peer critique handout, and they will analyze one classmate's work of their choosing. By providing both a student discussion and a written form of the participation in critique, I am hoping to get all of my students engaged. For assessments, I create a self-grading rubric per lesson. The one shown here is from lesson 1, and it uses the objectives that have been gone over for each lesson. Each objective aligns with the handout I have provided for them, and therefore they can determine from the descriptions how successfully they learned that objective. This is the same rubric that I will be using to provide them a summative assessment. The formative assessment are the things like the post-it note critique and the daily checklist in lesson 3. This is my example work for the students. My artwork is telling a story about the uncomfortable feelings I have when getting my nails done at the salon. I've had my nails done 3 times in my life, and along with other beauty hypes, I've always felt out of place and have not understood why many people enjoy it. The waxy layer on the nail polish bottles and the gritty glitter depict a bubblegum or chewy texture and ever-spreading feeling that symbolizes my annoyed emotion I feel. The tinsel creates a decorative or celebrative feeling as one feels after they get their nails done. And the light used with the hands around it describes the feeling that many people have of needing to get their nails done over and over again like a moth to the light. I used recycled Halloween hands, recycled lamp, a light bulb, nail polish, wax, tinsel, foil, glitter, and paint. The contemporary artists that I use to share with my students are Nick Cave, Ju-Young Cho, and David Bayes, among others. Bayes tells creative stories by using craft materials such as Play-Doh, perler beads, and silly bands, as seen on the right. And his material and texture choice provides key components of his expression even more than the designs made of the material itself. Ju-Young Cho documents the interconnecting narratives of an expansive fictional land called Cosmic Wound through painting, video, sculpture, animation, music, and installation art. Nick Cave creates giant inflatable creatures, as shown on the left, and also uses performance art. His costume design in 2009 to 2013 sound suits is used to reach all audience senses and to bring life to his various daydream creatures he imagines. These artists are important to teach the students to think beyond the traditional materials in 2D painting, drawing, collage, and 3D sculpture. They not only teach students how to decipher hidden meanings in color, shape, texture, and material, but how they can manipulate materials to tell stories in their artwork. I created this project to challenge my sixth graders because I believe it is important for students at this age to begin separating the idea of objects and textures from their cliche feelings, and to use objects and textures beyond their immediate meaning or feeling. This is a lesson that can begin to teach sixth graders how to abstractly tell a story relating to themselves, and how to control how the viewer relates or views the story through the textures, colors, shapes, and objects he or she decides to portray in his or her work. I'm hopeful that students will be excited about the variety of materials they're able to use, and that this is a project that they can end with 100% feeling of being in control of their work. Oftentimes in elementary school, it seems that with having students once a week, the projects can go quickly and usually are just a one attempt and done, even with experimenting with materials. So I look forward to seeing the growth in the specific skill from lessons 1 through 4.